Hey there, you're looking kind of cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out all my other socials. Enjoy. As Philip stood before the full-length mirror, his heart racing as he smoothed down the front of the floral sundress he wore, he'd never admitted it to anyone, but he'd always been fascinated by women's clothing. The soft fabrics, the intricate patterns, the way they flowed and moved. In secret, he'd occasionally indulged this fascination, trying on dresses and skirts when he was sure no one would catch him. But today was different. Today, his girlfriend Eloise had asked him to wear a dress as part of her college thesis experiment. She wanted to study how people reacted to cross-dressing in public spaces. Philip had hesitated at first, worried about judgment and ridicule, but Eloise had been so enthusiastic, so supportive, and if he was honest with himself, a part of him was thrilled at the chance to openly express this side of himself. "Are you ready?" Eloise's voice called from the living room. Philip took a deep breath, giving himself one last look in the mirror. The dress was pretty, pale blue with delicate white flowers. It hugged his waist before flaring out into a knee-length skirt. Eloise had helped him with subtle makeup and a long brunette wig. He hardly recognized himself. "Coming," he replied, his voice higher than usual. He stepped out of the bedroom, his hands fidgeting nervously with the hem of the dress. Eloise's face lit up when she saw him. "Oh my God, you look amazing!" she exclaimed, rushing over to him. She circled him slowly, taking in every detail. "The dress fits you perfectly, and your legs look fantastic in those heels." Philip felt his cheeks flush with warmth. "You really think so? I feel, exposed, I guess?" Eloise took his hands in hers, squeezing them reassuringly. "You look beautiful, Philip. Truly. Are you comfortable? We don't have to do this if you're not ready." He shook his head. "No, I want to. I'm nervous, but excited too." He managed a small smile. "So where are we going first?" "I thought we'd start with something easy. Just a walk in the park, then maybe grab a coffee if you're feeling up to it. We'll take it slow, okay?" Philip nodded, grateful for her understanding. They left the apartment, Philip's heart pounding as they stepped out into the world. He was hyper-aware of every glance, every double-take from passers-by. But to his surprise, most people barely seemed to notice him. As they strolled through the park, Eloise chatted casually, helping to put him at ease. Gradually, Philip began to relax. He found himself enjoying the feeling of the breeze on his bare legs, the swish of the skirt as he walked. They were passing a small playground when a little girl, maybe 5 or 6 years old, came running up to them. "I love your dress," she exclaimed, beaming up at Philip. "It's so pretty." Philip froze for a moment, unsure how to respond, but the girl's innocent enthusiasm was infectious, and he found himself smiling back. "Thank you," he said softly. "I like your dress too." The girl giggled and twirled, showing off her own brightly colored sundress before running back to her mother. Eloise squeezed Philip's hand. "See, you're a natural." They continued their walk, eventually stopping at a small cafe. As they waited in line to order, Philip noticed an older woman giving him a disapproving look. He tensed, bracing himself for a confrontation. But before the woman could say anything, a young man behind them in line spoke up. "Excuse me," he said, addressing Philip and Eloise. "I just wanted to say how great you both look. That dress is fabulous." Philip blinked in surprise. Thank you," he managed to say. The young man smiled warmly. "My name's Ryan. This is my mom, Carol." He gestured to a middle-aged woman standing beside him, who gave them a friendly wave. "It's nice to meet you," Eloise said. "I'm Eloise, and this is Puck." She caught herself, realizing she wasn't sure if Philip wanted to use his real name. "Phoebe," Philip said quickly, the name coming to him on impulse. "Nice to meet you, too." As they chatted, Philip learned that Ryan was also a cross-dresser. He and his mother were incredibly supportive, offering words of encouragement and even inviting them to a local support group for gender non-conforming individuals. By the time they left the cafe, Philip was feeling more confident than ever. The rest of the day passed in a blur of new experiences and emotions. When they finally returned home, Philip was exhausted but exhilarated. "So how do you feel?" Eloise asked as they settled onto the couch. Philip took a moment to consider. "Honestly, I feel free. Like I've been holding my breath for years, and I'm finally able to exhale." He paused, then added hesitantly, I think I'd like to do this more often, if that's okay with you." Eloise's face broke into a wide smile. "Of course it's okay. Philip, I want you to be happy and comfortable being yourself. If that means wearing dresses sometimes, or all the time, I'm here for you." Over the next few weeks, Eloise's experiment continued, but it had become much more than just a college thesis. She began buying Philip more feminine clothes: skirts, blouses, dresses in various styles. Each new outfit was a thrill for Philip, who found himself spending more and more time presenting as female. They started attending the support group Ryan had mentioned, where Philip, now going by Phoebe most of the time, found a welcoming community of like-minded individuals. The more time he spent embracing his feminine side, the more natural and right it felt. One evening, as they were getting ready for a night out with friends from the support group, Phoebe turned to Eloise with tears in her eyes. I think I want to live like this full time," she said, her voice trembling. "I feel more like myself as Phoebe than I ever did as Philip. Is that crazy?" Eloise wrapped her arms around Phoebe, holding her close. "It's not crazy at all. It's brave and beautiful, just like you." The transition wasn't easy. There were difficult conversations with family and friends, challenges at work, and the occasional confrontation with less accepting individuals. But through it all, Eloise remained Phoebe's rock, her unwavering support and fiercest advocate. Months passed, and Phoebe blossomed. She grew more confident in her appearance and identity with each passing day. Her wardrobe expanded, filled with clothes that made her feel beautiful and authentic. She experimented with different makeup styles, finding joy in the artistry of it all. One sunny afternoon, Phoebe and Eloise decided to revisit the park where they had taken that first walk so many months ago. As they strolled hand in hand, Phoebe marveled at how different everything felt now. "I remember being so scared that day," she said, squeezing Eloise's hand. "Terrified that everyone would stare or say something cruel. Now look at me. I can't imagine living any other way." Eloise smiled, her eyes shining with pride and love. "You've come so far, Phoebe. I'm so proud of you." They found a quiet spot under a large oak tree and sat down on the grass. Phoebe smoothed out her flowing maxi dress, admiring the way the sunlight played on the fabric. "You know," Eloise said, a mischievous glint in her eye, "my thesis is long finished, but I think I might have a new research topic." Phoebe raised an eyebrow. "Oh, what's that?" "The positive effects of supportive partners on transgender individuals' mental health and overall well-being." Eloise grinned. "What do you think? Want to be my case study?" Phoebe laughed, leaning in to kiss her girlfriend softly. "I think I'd be honored." As they sat there in the dappled sunlight, Phoebe felt a profound sense of peace wash over her. The journey hadn't been easy, but with Eloise by her side and a growing circle of supportive friends, she knew she could face whatever challenges lay ahead. The park bustled with life around them, families picnicking, children playing, couples strolling hand in hand. Phoebe watched it all with a sense of belonging she'd never experienced before. She was part of this tapestry now, no longer hiding in the shadows. "Hey," Eloise said, nudging her gently. "What are you thinking about?" Phoebe smiled, her eyes soft with contentment. "Just how grateful I am for you, for this journey, for finally feeling like I can be my true self." Eloise leaned her head on Phoebe's shoulder. "I'm grateful too. You know, when I started that experiment, I never imagined it would change our lives so completely, but I wouldn't have it any other way." As the afternoon wore on, they decided to take a walk around the lake. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden glow across the water. Phoebe's dress fluttered in the gentle breeze, and she reveled in the feeling of freedom it gave her. They passed other couples, families with children, groups of friends enjoying the evening. Phoebe noticed a few admiring glances directed her way, but they no longer filled her with anxiety. Instead, she felt a quiet pride in her appearance and who she had become. "Oh, look!" Eloise suddenly exclaimed, pointing towards a small clearing near the lake's edge. "Isn't that Ryan and Carol?" Phoebe followed her gaze and saw their friends from the cafe all those months ago. Ryan was wearing a vibrant sundress, his long hair styled in loose waves. Carol stood beside him, beaming with pride. "Let's go say hello," Phoebe suggested, already steering them in that direction. As they approached, Ryan spotted them and waved enthusiastically. "Phoebe, Eloise, what a wonderful surprise!" The four of them exchanged warm greetings and hugs. Phoebe couldn't help but marvel at how much had changed since their first meeting. "You look absolutely radiant, Phoebe," Carol said, her eyes twinkling. "Happiness suits you?" Phoebe felt a warmth spread through her chest. "Thank you, Carol. I feel radiant. And a lot of that is thanks to you and Ryan. Your support has meant so much to me." Ryan reached out and squeezed Phoebe's hand. "We're just so glad to see you living authentically. You've come such a long way." They spent the next hour catching up, sharing stories and laughter. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the clouds in shades of pink and orange, Carol suggested they all go out for dinner. "There's a new restaurant downtown that's supposed to be very inclusive," she said. "What do you say we go check it out?" Everyone agreed enthusiastically. As they walked to their cars, Phoebe felt a surge of gratitude for this impromptu gathering of friends. She thought back to that first day in the park, how alone and scared she had felt. Now, surrounded by love and acceptance, she felt invincible. The restaurant was a cozy, eclectic place with fairy lights strung across the ceiling and local artwork adorning the walls. As they were led to their table, Phoebe noticed several other visibly queer and gender non-conforming individuals dining or working there. The atmosphere was warm and welcoming. Over plates of delicious food, their conversation flowed easily. They discussed everything from fashion tips to the challenges of navigating a world that wasn't always understanding. Phoebe found herself opening up about her fears and insecurities, but also her hopes and dreams for the future. "You know," Ryan said at one point, "I'm thinking of starting a small business, a clothing boutique specifically catering to trans and non-binary folks. Clothes that are designed to fit and flatter our bodies." Phoebe's eyes lit up. "Ryan, that's an amazing idea. I know I've struggled to find clothes that fit properly, especially when I was first starting out." "Exactly," Ryan nodded enthusiastically. "And I was thinking, well, I was wondering if you might be interested in being involved, maybe as a model for the website, or even helping with the design ideas." Phoebe felt a flutter of excitement in her chest. "Are you serious? I'd love to." As they continued to discuss Ryan's business plan, Phoebe caught Eloise watching her with a soft smile. "What?" Phoebe asked, suddenly self-conscious. Eloise shook her head, still smiling. "Nothing. I just love seeing you like this. Excited, passionate, making plans for the future. It's a far cry from the person who was afraid to leave the apartment in a dress just a few months ago." Phoebe felt a lump form in her throat. She reached across the table and took Eloise's hand. "I couldn't have done any of this without you, you know. Your love and support have meant everything to me." The evening wore on, filled with laughter, good food, and the warmth of friendship. As they finally said their goodbyes in the restaurant parking lot, making plans to meet up again soon, Phoebe felt a profound sense of belonging. On the drive home, Phoebe was quieter than usual, lost in thought. Eloise glanced over at her, a hint of concern in her voice. "Everything okay, love?" Phoebe nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "More than okay. I was just thinking about how much has changed, how much I've changed. And yet, in some ways, I feel more like myself than ever before." Eloise reached over and squeezed her hand. "That's because you are more yourself. You're not hiding anymore, Phoebe. You're living your truth, and it's beautiful to see." As they pulled into their apartment complex, Phoebe felt a sudden urgency to express the depth of her feelings. Before Eloise could get out of the car, Phoebe gently caught her arm. "Eloise, wait. I need to say something." Eloise turned to her, her expression open and attentive. Phoebe took a deep breath. I don't think I've ever properly thanked you for everything, for seeing me, really seeing me, even when I couldn't see myself, for loving me through all of this, for being my partner, my cheerleader, my safe harbor. She paused, blinking back tears. I love you more than I ever thought possible. You've helped me become who I was always meant to be. Eloise's eyes glistened with unshed tears. She leaned across the center console, cupping Phoebe's face in her hands. Oh, Phoebe, loving you, supporting you. It's been the easiest, most natural thing in the world. You're so strong, so brave. I'm in awe of you every day. Their lips met, filled with all the love and gratitude they felt for each other. When they finally parted, both women were smiling through their tears. Come on, Eloise said softly, wiping a tear from Phoebe's cheek. Let's go home. As they walked hand in hand to their apartment, Phoebe felt a sense of peace settle over her. The future stretched out before them, full of possibilities and promise. There would undoubtedly be more challenges to face, more obstacles to overcome. But with Eloise by her side and a growing network of supportive friends, Phoebe knew she could handle anything. They reached their door and Eloise unlocked it, gesturing for Phoebe to enter first. As she stepped inside, Phoebe paused for a moment, looking back at the woman she loved. Thank you, she said simply, pouring all her love and gratitude into those 2 words. Eloise smiled, her eyes shining with affection. Always, she replied, following Phoebe into their home, into their shared future. As the door closed behind them, Phoebe felt a chapter of her life coming to a close. The journey of self-discovery that had begun with a simple request to wear a dress for a college experiment had led her to this moment. She was Phoebe now, truly and completely. And while the road ahead might not always be easy, she knew that with love, support, and the courage to be herself, she could face anything. The night settled around their apartment, quiet and peaceful. Inside, 2 women held each other close, their love a beacon of hope and acceptance in a sometimes challenging world. And Phoebe, wrapped in Eloise's embrace, felt for the first time in her life that she was exactly where she was meant to be, exactly who she was meant to be. As they prepared for bed, Phoebe caught sight of herself in the mirror. She paused, taking in her reflection. The person staring back at her was so different from the Philip of just a few months ago. Her hair, now grown out, framed her face softly. The subtle makeup she wore enhanced her features in a way that felt natural and right. The silky nightgown she wore draped elegantly over her changing body, but it wasn't just her outward appearance that had changed. There was a confidence in her posture, a light in her eyes that hadn't been there before. She was Phoebe, inside and out, and that knowledge filled her with a quiet joy. Eloise came up behind her, wrapping her arms around Phoebe's waist and resting her chin on her shoulder. What are you thinking about, beautiful? Phoebe leaned back into her embrace, a soft smile playing on her lips. Just everything. How far we've come. How grateful I am. She turned in Eloise's arms to face her. I never imagined I could be this happy, this comfortable in my own skin. Eloise brushed a strand of hair from Phoebe's face, her touch gentle and loving. You deserve all the happiness in the world, Phoebe. I'm just glad I get to be part of your journey. As they climbed into bed, Phoebe felt a sense of excitement for what the future might hold. Ryan's offer to be involved in his clothing boutique had sparked something in her. She'd always had an interest in fashion, but now she was beginning to see it as more than just a personal passion. Perhaps there was a way to turn it into a career, to help other trans individuals feel beautiful and confident in their own skin. Eloise, she whispered into the darkness. I've been thinking, what if I went back to school? Maybe studied fashion design or business. I want to do more to help people like me. Eloise propped herself up on one elbow, her face barely visible in the dim light filtering through the curtains. Phoebe, that's a wonderful idea. You'd be amazing at that. They spent the next hour talking quietly, discussing possibilities and making plans. As Phoebe finally drifted off to sleep, her mind was filled with visions of the future, a future brighter and more beautiful than she'd ever dared to dream. The next morning dawned bright and clear. Phoebe woke early, feeling energized and motivated. She slipped out of bed, careful not to wake Eloise, and made her way to the kitchen to start the coffee. As she waited for the coffee to brew, she pulled out her laptop and began researching fashion design programs. The more she read, the more excited she became. This felt right, like the next natural step in her journey. Eloise shuffled into the kitchen just as Phoebe was pouring 2 mugs of coffee. "Morning, love," she mumbled, still half asleep. Phoebe handed her a mug, then leaned in to kiss her cheek. "Good morning, beautiful. Sleep well?" Eloise nodded, taking a long sip of coffee. As the caffeine began to work its magic, she noticed the excitement radiating from Phoebe. "You look like you're on a mission this morning. What have you been up to?" Phoebe grinned, gesturing to her laptop. "I've been looking into fashion design programs. There's one at the local community college that looks perfect. It's part-time, so I could still work, and it covers everything from basic design principles to business management." Eloise's face lit up. "That sounds perfect for you, Phoebe. Are you going to apply?" Phoebe nodded, her excitement palpable. "I think I am. The next semester starts in a few months. That gives me time to get my application together and maybe even start sketching some design ideas." As they sat down to breakfast, Phoebe's mind was already racing with possibilities. She thought about the struggles she'd faced finding clothes that fit properly and reflected her style. She thought about other trans individuals who might be facing similar challenges, and she began to see how she could make a real difference. "You know," she said between bites of toast, "I'm thinking this could be more than just a personal project. What if I focused on designing clothes specifically for trans women? There's such a need for it, and who better to understand that need than someone who's lived it?" Eloise reached across the table, squeezing Phoebe's hand. "I think that's a brilliant idea. You could really help a lot of people, Phoebe." The rest of the day passed in a whirlwind of activity. Phoebe threw herself into researching the fashion industry, sketching rough design ideas, and putting together her application for the design program. Eloise watched her with a mixture of pride and love, offering encouragement and support. As evening fell, they decided to celebrate Phoebe's new direction with a nice dinner out. They chose an upscale restaurant they'd been wanting to try, and Phoebe took extra care with her appearance, selecting an elegant black dress that made her feel confident and beautiful. At the restaurant, as they were finishing their main course, Phoebe noticed a woman at a nearby table giving her curious looks. She tensed slightly, years of ingrained caution kicking in. But when the woman approached their table, her face was open and friendly. "I'm sorry to interrupt," the woman said, "but I just had to tell you how stunning you look. That dress is absolutely perfect on you." Phoebe felt a warmth spread through her chest. "Thank you so much," she replied, her voice steady and confident. "That's very kind of you to say." The woman smiled. "Are you a model? You certainly have the looks for it." Phoebe laughed softly, shaking her head. No, not a model, but I am actually thinking of going into fashion design." "Well, with your sense of style, I'm sure you'll be brilliant at it," the woman said. She wished them a pleasant evening and returned to her table. As she walked away, Phoebe turned to Eloise, her eyes shining. "Did that really just happen?" Eloise grinned, reaching across the table to squeeze Phoebe's hand. "It did, and she's right, you do look stunning." The compliment from a stranger, freely given without any knowledge of Phoebe's journey, felt like a validation of everything she'd been through. It was a small moment, but it filled her with a sense of rightness, of belonging in her own skin. As they left the restaurant, walking hand in hand under the stars, Phoebe felt a profound sense of gratitude wash over her. For Eloise, for their friends, for the journey that had brought her to this point, but most of all, for the courage to be true to herself. "You know," she said softly, squeezing Eloise's hand, "a year ago, I never could have imagined my life would look like this. I was so scared, so trapped in a life that didn't fit. And now," she gestured to herself, to the night around them, to Eloise, "now I feel like anything is possible." Eloise stopped walking, turning to face Phoebe. She cupped Phoebe's face in her hands, her eyes full of love. "That's because anything is possible, my love. You've already proven that. And whatever comes next, whatever challenges we face, we'll face them together. As they kissed under the starlit sky, Phoebe felt a sense of peace and rightness settle over her. The journey hadn't been easy, and she knew there would be more challenges ahead, but she was Phoebe now, truly and completely. And with Eloise by her side, a growing circle of supportive friends, and a newfound purpose, she was ready to embrace whatever the future might hold. The night air was cool against her skin as they walked home, the city quiet around them. Phoebe's heels clicked rhythmically on the sidewalk, a sound that once would have filled her with anxiety, but now felt natural, even empowering. She thought about the day's events, her decision to apply for the fashion design program, the compliment from the stranger at the restaurant, the unwavering support from Eloise. Each moment felt like a stepping stone, leading her further along the path of self-discovery and acceptance. As they approached their apartment building, Phoebe paused, looking up at the stars twinkling above the city lights. She took a deep breath, savoring the moment. "Eloise," she said softly, "thank you for everything, for loving me, for supporting me, for helping me become who I truly am." Eloise wrapped her arms around Phoebe, pulling her close. "You don't have to thank me, love. Watching you blossom into your true self has been the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed. I'm just grateful I get to be part of your journey." They stood there for a moment, holding each other under the vast night sky. Phoebe felt a sense of possibility, of potential, stretching out before her. She was Phoebe now, in every way that mattered, and whatever the future held, she knew she was strong enough to face it. As they finally made their way inside, Phoebe caught a glimpse of their reflection in the lobby mirror. She saw two women hand in hand, their faces alight with love and happiness, and in that moment, she knew that this life, this love, this authenticity was everything she had ever wanted, everything she had ever needed. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.